Mana Tabernacle of Witness, welcome to our weekly program, Health Talk. Today, I would want us to divert a little bit from what we shared the previous session to talk something a little bit different, but not so much away from what we have been discussing in our previous sessions. Today, I would want us to talk about a community. I will also want us to talk about a family. And time allowing, we will also try and talk about individuals within these families. When I said I want us to talk about a community, I did not necessarily want us to talk about a community, as a normal system. But I wanted to reflect on the other side of a community, which we often, will often look at, but we do not necessarily talk about. Colleagues of mine were doing a study, or have done a study here in Africa. I can't say whether, I can't say here in South Africa, but they've done a study here in Africa. And the study was on alcohol use and availability. And, the very interesting, observation, which my colleagues found as they were doing this study in this community, they found that, in this particular community, every second or third house was in a given street would be a shebeen, or, in that particular household, alcohol would be sold. I said, every second or third house in a street, alcohol will be served or sold. And you imagine this is happening in the community where you live. Imagine this is a daily happening in a situation where we have to raise our children. It's happening in a community where we would want to cascade or good morals. We would want to raise our children in a safe environment which is safe from all these immoral things of which comes along with with the usage of either alcohol and substances. And you have to ask yourself that if in this community every second or third house substances or alcohol was available and was sold, imagine this community in its normal normal day. What would be happening really? Everybody, for lack of a better word, I will say everybody, because it's more, if it's happening in every second, third house, it's majority. So I think I'll be qualified to say, everybody is in one way or another, drinking or using or, alcohol in this community. And we know for sure that, alcohol doesn't necessarily go alone. It goes with other substances, And then you ask yourself, what is normal about this community? Will I be right to say this community is normal? Maybe I'm wrong. Will I be right to say this community is dysfunctional? But who am I to say that? But people living in this community allow this to happen. They allow, this situation to continue. They allow their children to grow up in this kind of environment. Maybe it shouldn't be a problem for you, because possibly you are that household that I said in every second or third house. You are that household where you do not sell alcohol. You are that household that does not deal in any form of substances. You are safe, right? And so are your children. I was talking at a community level, but then let me then swiftly move from a community level to, to a family level. Because I said every second or third house, alcohol is available and is sold, is for sale, meaning that there are people who are coming into this household. There are people who frequent these places to get this alcohol, to get whatever, is available, that is for sale, that being sold in this household. And in these households, there are children. Not to say that I'm not worried about others, but I'm saying in this household, in this second, third house where these alcohol beverages are sold, they are children. Maybe they are not using, maybe they are not drinking, but it's a matter of time that they will start using, they will start drinking, they will start abusing. Would you blame them? What examples did we set as families to these children? What moral standard did we set as parents to these children? When they end up in the streets, when they end up dropping out of school, when they end up, doing all sort of things, when they end up, in the streets, selling their bodies in the street, doing all sort of things, involved in crimes, can we say as families, can we say as a community that we have done everything and anything in our position to safeguard our children, to protect our children from harm? For this one, we shouldn't say, let God be a judge. We should be able to judge ourselves. That is what I wanted to say, particularly in relation to the study which my colleagues did in one of the communities. I found it very interesting, and I thought I need to highlight what is happening in some of our communities. But today I would also want to zoom into a community that is very well known to me, the community in which I also grew up from. And because sometimes it's easy to talk about other communities. It's easy sometimes to talk about things that are very far from us, and it kind of makes us feel good. We feel exonerated. It's happening there, but it's not happening to me. It's not happening in the community where I find myself. I come from a community, and I have, grew up in a community. And, as I look as I zoom into my community, there's something that I also, found very interesting about my community. Because it was easy for me to talk to you about that community because it's far. But let's, bringing it closer to home and to say, is the community where I come from any different from the community that I just shared to you about? Maybe not. I grew up in a community as a young man, and in this community, we have people that were known, to be selling dacha. They were selling dacha openly. They were selling dacha to school children. Children that were coming from boarding school. After school, they will come to my community. They will go to these particular households and they would buy the stuff. Not only those, school children that were coming from boarding schools around my village, but even the children, the young people in my village were beneficiaries from these substances which were being sold by people that were known in my community. And this business was flourishing, and people were making a living out of it. And my community tolerated this, allowed this to continue. Actually, the community, my community was actually siding with the same people because they will not report this to the police. And for any police, any police or law enforcement officers coming to this village, people in my village felt that, the people were jealous about, these young men who were pushing these substances, these drugs in my community. Fast forward, the young men were destroyed because of these substances. Futures, promising futures, young men who were very good in mathematics and mixing it with dacha, they lost it in the process. Life goes on. There are families that we know, families, in my own community that have been known from time, from long time ago, that, they were selling, some kind of beer or lack of a better word, they were selling intoxicants that were detrimental to the health of the young people in the village. People who were drinking this kind of beer or this make that were produced by these families that we knew, became useless. Their skin will change into charcoal. Their hair would be, like Mamsisi by Fanana Kondlo, And you ask yourself, as a community, seeing these things happening, seeing our own children being destroyed, did we speak out? No. Did leaders within our communities speak out against these things? No. Are they speaking against these things now? No. So you see, sometimes as communities, we are responsible for so many things that have gone wrong within our own communities. We see these things happen and we turn a blind eye. But we are forgetting one thing, that the children that are being destroyed by these substances, the children whose future are being ruined by these things that we do not speak out against, are supposed to be the future of the same communities. Maybe, just maybe things will change. But hey, change does not come by itself. For change to happen, somebody would have to stand out to say, enough. This cannot continue to happen. We cannot allow our children to be frustrated. We cannot allow our children to be destroyed by these things. Maybe adults should be the first one to stand for their children and for their families. But if we do not have adults that are bold enough, that are able to stand and protect what they have, their inheritance, their children, maybe the children, they themselves need to stand up for themselves. Maybe the last thing that I would want to share with you today, I find this one very interesting. Actually, this is classic. A father who is unemployed, he is given a bottle of whiskey by a friend. This man takes this bottle home and keep it. And here's the funny part. He has a son who is a student and is a beneficiary from NSFAS, and he knew that the child was entitled to get some sort or kind of refund. Here's the story. Here's the classic part. The father is negotiating with the son that if, to sell this bottle to the son so that he can get some cash. A father negotiating with a son who is a child. The father is selling a bottle of whiskey to his son for some cash. So if this transaction happened, what it meant would be that the father is responsible for ensuring that his son continue to drink. Actually, he approves that his son should drink. As a community and as families, there's one thing that we need to do. This we cannot delegate. We need to stand up and protect our communities. We need to stand up and protect our families. If we do not stand up to protect our communities, if we do not stand up and protect our families, no one will. quite often, when the law enforcement officers comes into a picture, already the damage is done. When the law enforcement officers comes, it is just for damage control. The people who should stand up and protect what we have, that we love, is us as communities, is us as families. I wouldn't want to say it's for us as fathers, but it's us as families, it's for us as communities to stand up. Where we see that our leaders are quiet, let's not do the same. Let's stand up. Let's speak out. And the leaders will see that they are neglecting their responsibilities, and they will join in. And with these few words, family, I hope that I've provoked you, and I provoked you to anger, and you will begin to act against some of these things that we see in our communities. Let me close by thanking our parents who continue to give us opportunities to share these things which are helping to build our communities. Till next time, God bless you.